Right, good morning, Kodiaks. At least this morning for me. Don't know what time it is while you're watching this on YouTube and getting ready to do types of chemical reactions part 2. We're going to do 3 reactions actually, just because one of them is fun. Only 2 of them are actually what we call single replacement reactions, which is the type of reaction that we're going over in part 2. We're also going to do a little combustion of hydrogen reaction just because it's fun. So this, get the camera to focus here, this is zinc metal. You can see characteristics of metals, that it's got some luster and some shininess to it, and it's kind of silvery and relatively soft. And I'm going to place the zinc into the test tube, and to that test tube going to add a fair amount of 6 molar hydrochloric acid, and you can observe this reaction. If we're careful and I can be quiet and the HVAC system isn't too loud, you might even be able to hear the reaction. So I'll try to zoom in on it a little bit for us, so that you can see that the pieces of zinc metal are down on the bottom, but there's definitely a gas being produced. In this case, that gas is hydrogen. And how do we know that that gas is hydrogen? That comes up to common test for hydrogen, which is to capture some of that gas in a test tube and then expose it to a flame. And if it's hydrogen, it should ignite just like the Hindenburg did, if you know some history. So I'm going to invert a test tube over the top of this for about 30 seconds, so have some patience. A great Guns N' Roses tune, by the way, if you've never heard Patience. And I kind of lost my count, but we want to leave it there long enough that this inverted test tube can capture a lot of the hydrogen. While that's going on, I'm going to get a wooden splint burning. And I'll take that out, and then that is evidence of the hydrogen gas combusting. I know that in the directions that I downloaded for you, it says you'll hear a pop, but really it's more of a squeal. So there is part 1 of the single replacement reaction. It's zinc plus HCl making zinc chloride and hydrogen gas. So for part 2, we're also going to use zinc, but part 2 is a slightly slower reaction. And what we're going to do is place another couple pieces of zinc in the test tube. But then to that, we're going to add some copper sulfate solution. You can see the characteristic blue color of copper solutions. They have this wonderful blue or blue-green color often. And just because it's a blue or a blue-green solution doesn't mean it's copper in that solution, but it's a relatively decent guess. And that should be plenty. I know that many of you might want to repeat the test for hydrogen, because if you were in the lab, you would definitely want to repeat the test for hydrogen. You can see already, I'll bring this a little closer, that the copper, the zinc that was all shiny, let me focus here. The zinc that was all shiny is now kind of a rusty red brown sort of color, and what that rusty red brown color is, I'll shake it up a little bit so you can actually see the little flakes of that rusty red brown stuff in there. That rusty red brown stuff is copper, because the zinc is replacing the copper ions that were in the solution and becoming zinc ions, while the copper ions that were in solution are becoming reduced. And we'll talk more about what that means exactly later, but they're becoming reduced, and what you have is that reddish brown material there, which is actually copper. So let me see if I can focus on that just a little better for you. You'll have to excuse my very amateur photography skills, but there you go. You can see the reddish brown color of the copper and the actual flakes of copper that are precipitated out. And just for comparison, when the zinc was originally put in there, it was shiny and silver, like this. And now that shiny and silver zinc in the copper sulfate has become copper metal. Alright. I know I said I might do the hydrogen gas thing for you again, but you know what? It's on YouTube, so you can just rewind it and play it as many times as you like. So it's Mr. Stubblefield checking out for types of chemical reactions part 2, single replacement reactions. You can watch the video as many times as you need to, fill out the worksheet, balance the equations, upload it on Canvas, and until next time.